Before we start today's episode on ESPN, I want to start on the history of the NBA. The league has always been split into two parts, the NBA and the ABA, until the two big companies merged in 1976, becoming a monopoly of basketball. Now it's just considered the NBA. The merger has contributed to three-point field goals, the slam dunk contest, faster, more intense pace of game, and drafting of underclassmen. This monopoly organization has been popularized in the United States and has become popular in other countries like China that idolize Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan. The NBA broadcasts in 46 languages to 216 nations and territories worldwide. So this market is huge and makes $5 billion. It continues to be a growing market with a growing audience. Thank you for listening.
Good afternoon to the worldwide audience. This is the first episode in the history of ESPN.
I'm Brandon Martin.
I'm Thomas Voskel. ESPN stands for the Economic Sports Programming Network. And basically, each episode, we, both great economists, analyze one market. Today's is the NBA. In store in this episode, we're going to have two unreal, never-before-seen interviews with NBA players. And we will analyze what they say in economic terms.
All right, thank you, Brandon. So we have Jabari here. How's your rookie year going in Milwaukee?
Good. Really enjoying it. And, it's November now, so it's a little cold here in Milwaukee. We got some snow, but it's cool.
Yeah. Well, watching your home games this year, I see a lot of open seats in the crowd. How do you feel about that? What's going on?
It's not fun. You want to play for a sellout crowd every night, but the team's really struggled here recently. We haven't been that good. Obviously, we had the number 2 pick in the draft last year, so there just hasn't been a lot of superstar players here that everyone wants to see. So
yeah, I understand.
That takes a toll on the performance of our team, and the fans don't show up for it because we're not winning.
Yeah. So could you tell me a little bit about what is there to do in Milwaukee? What do you do in your free time?
I go to my apartment. After practice, I watch movies. I sometimes go to the mall. I went to a Brewers game this summer. That was fun. Nice. But Milwaukee's not prime. It's not that exciting of a city. So I do my work, but not much else.
All right, well, growing up, what team did you root for?
I'm from Chicago, so I've always been a Bulls fan. I loved Michael Jordan, the tradition the Bulls have, the 90s, they won 6 championships. They're just so good. I loved watching them.
Yeah. All right, well, thank you so much. That's all we have. Back to you, Tom and Brandon.
Thanks, Jeanette.
What an insightful interview that was. Jabari Parker, promising young talent, that's for sure. There was also a lot of economics in what he was discussing. You can tell by the tone of his voice that Jabari, let's be honest, he's a little down. He probably didn't expect to be in Milwaukee to start his career. He is getting the feeling of being in a small market. And that happens, and that's something that the NBA really struggles with. You have a lot of large markets like Miami, Boston, Chicago, LA, New York. The big markets, they have all the advantages, while small markets like Memphis, Milwaukee, Sacramento, sorry Pistons fans, Detroit, they have a lot of disadvantages. You've been to the Palace?
I have.
How empty is that place?
It's very empty, Tom.
It is very empty, and basically the reason for this comes down to demand. And there's basically 2 components that I would like to analyze. We have the fans and we have free agents. And when we combine those 2 components separately, you can see why this is a big issue for the NBA. First of all, with the fans, they have a lot of different demand determinants that show if it's a big market or a small market. The first one is income. Usually money is in big cities. New York, LA, everyone can afford to go to games. It's sold out every night. In small cities like Salt Lake, there's a lot of empty seats, even though the price of a ticket might be a lot cheaper. And then there's tradition. People love to go see the big name teams, the Bulls, the Celtics, the Lakers. It draws fans in. And that goes hand in hand with the whole superstar mentality that the NBA has created. there's such an emphasis in the NBA these days. You're a huge Kobe fan, right?
I am indeed.
That superstars you got to go see. No one wants to go see the Sixers right now. They all want to see Melo in New York, Kobe in LA, D Rose in Chicago, stuff like that.
When he's healthy.
When he's healthy. The demand determinant is a quality product. At the end of the day, they want to see their team do well. And the Milwaukee Bucks, like the Pistons in the last couple of years, they've been struggling. And no one wants to go see a losing team because losing's not fun. And then the second one is the free agents. Usually the big market teams are able to take on the taxes and different penalties that come when you overpay players. Small markets who don't produce a lot of revenue usually refuse to go over the salary cap, which is an NBA feature. For example, Oklahoma City. A very good team, but they're still a very small market, and they have refused to go over the tax to pay premium players, and therefore they haven't really taken the next step to become NBA champions. For free agents want to compete for a championship, and where are all the good players? Usually in big markets, for all the reasons I previously stated. And the fourth determinant is brand. People in the NBA like to grow their brand. It's a very egocentric community of athletes. And usually it's easier to grow your brand in the big cities. So when you combine these two things, the fans and the free agents, it creates this huge gap between the big markets and the small markets. And this is a very big issue in the NBA right now.
All right, great insight, Tommy.
Appreciate it.
Next, it's an interview with the Black Mamba, Kobe Bryant. We have Jeanette live in LA.
Kobe, thank you so much for being here today. What an honor.
Good to be here.
Great.
Talk.
Great. So, can I ask you a couple questions about how the Lakers are doing this year? I know it's early in the season.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Well, it looks like your shooting percentage is below 40%. This is the first time in your basketball career. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, it's kind of rough, but my philosophy is you miss 100% of the shots you can take. So I just got to keep shooting; they'll eventually fall.
Yeah. Well, the Lakers in the last place in the Western Conference. You guys are usually competing for the top, for the championship. So what's it like? Being in a different place this year than the years before.
It's a little frustrating. It's a tough year for sure.
Yeah.
But it'll turn around eventually. We've always had a good program, and it's not just going to go down the drain like that.
Yeah. Well, it says here that during the off season, you were granted a 2-year with a $48 million contract. And there's a lot of controversy about that. How do you feel? Do you think that you're worth the amount of money that you were paid? That's a lot of money.
Yeah, it is a lot of money, but you know what? I'm not in it for the money. I'm here just to play basketball. I just love the game, and that's all I want to do.
All right. Well, that's all we have today. Thank you so much. Back to you.
Brian, what a great interview. What's that smell?
I think I know exactly what that smell is, Tommy. It smells like the law of diminishing marginal returns. Now, let me ask you, Kobe's contract, it's a 2-year contract, which equates to
$48 million.
Just doesn't really make sense. And then, as we just get into the law of diminishing marginal returns, I just have to ask you, is this a case of that?
He's shooting under 40% for the first time in his career. And the Lakers, last time I checked, were the last place team in the Western Conference. You have a guy making $24 million. That's more than LeBron, Anthony Davis, all the better players in the league. This is certainly an issue because while Kobe, yes, 5-10 years ago was worth every penny, but at 38, coming off 2 knee surgeries, I think this is definitely a case of the law of diminishing returns because every dollar that they pay Kobe in the future, they're going to get a lot less output than they did in the past. Anyways, great perspective, Brandon. Great job. Now we have our superstar analyst, Nate, to try to tell us why Kobe might be worth it. Welcome to the set, Nate.
Thanks, Tom.
Great to have you here.
Nice to see you again, Brandon.
Nice to see
and
you as well.
there's a reason, people, that the Lakers are paying Kobe Bryant $24 million a year. And what it breaks down to is that Kobe Bryant is one of the best basketball players in the world, and he's one of the best all time. So people are going to want to see him play because every customer in an economic market, in this case the fans, want to enjoy the good supplied by the best producer. The good in this case is basketball, the producer is Kobe Bryant. So because of this, Kobe brings in a lot more revenue for his team than, say, the average NBA player would. And so he makes more than any other NBA player. Now, relatively speaking, everyone would pay the same amount for like an electrician or a dentist, but you wouldn't do that for a basketball player. This is also because Kobe has made a name for himself and can be seen paying basketball by millions around the world. Now, your electrician can't do that. He can only serve a couple of people at a time. But Kobe can serve millions. And another reason why the Lakers are paying Kobe so much is because of his human capital. And human capital is the accumulation of investments in people. This makes him be able to command a high salary. And here's just some of his accomplishments. He's been 19 years in the league with the Los Angeles Lakers. He's a 5-time NBA champion, 16-time All-Star, 12-time member of the All-NBA defensive team, and he's 3rd all-time in points scored in the NBA. And he's also the winner of the 1997 Slam Dunk Contest. And Kobe's just such a popular player, Brandon.
Insane.
It's just,
insane.
I can see why he demands such a high salary.
And yeah, Kobe Bryant, a very high caliber player, tons of talent, and no doubt he's going down in the Hall of Fame. But anyways, let's move off this Kobe topic.
Nice talking to you.
Great having you on the show again. And we have another issue of advertising in the NBA. And more about this interesting topic, we have Jeanette.
All right, so I'm going to be talking a little bit about advertising and how the NBA uses advertisements to maybe, cause ethical issues. And these advertisements are pushing the limits. Here I'm going to show you a little clip that Nike had promoted when LeBron James came back to Cleveland. And so I'm going to show you a little bit about how the city has really surrounded themselves around one man. And, maybe ask yourself, is this a problem? Is this an issue? So here, take a look.
Special. Let's go. Bring it on in, everybody. Let's go. Let's go. Hard work on 3. Together on 6. 1, 2, 3. Hard work. 4, 5, 6. Together. Hard work on 3. Together on 6. 1, 2, 3. Hard work. 4, 5, 6. Together. Here we go, man. Hard work on 3. Together on 6. 1, 2, 3. Hard work. 4, 5, 6. Together. Together.
As you can see, the NBA, more than any other association, heavily relies on its advertisements. We've got companies like Nike, Adidas, Under Armour, these big brand athletic companies really pouring into select athletes. We've got Kobe with his $34 million shoe deal with Nike. We've got LeBron with his $42 million shoe deal with Nike. And sometimes we really promote these athletes. Not only are we promoting the athlete himself, but also his team, then the city, and then the whole NBA association. And so we kind of overlook how much we put stardom and fame and attention to these star players. So have we ever asked ourselves, is this an ethical issue? Is this something that we should confront? Why don't we also raise attention in other areas as well? Advertisement is kind of a negative externality in some sense to our market. Commissioner Adam Silver talks about putting sponsorships on the jerseys, and that will be coming in the near future. Now, putting these big brand names and these big companies on these jerseys is kind of toying with the long-placed traditions that the NBA has held. This is a very profit-maximizing mentality, definitely bringing a lot more attention, a lot more money into this association. We've definitely promoted these athletes and put them on high pedestals. We should bring attention to all of our gifts and talents that God has given us, but ultimately, what are we trying to do? Is this for our own self-fame? I think that we should take the NBA, for example, and use these gifts to God's glory. Bring more attention and highlight being able to just come together as a community and celebrate. Monsma talks about in his article about stewardship. Now, stewardship doesn't only have to be about money, but it can also be relevant to stewardship about people, how we view our neighbors, how we kind of idolize our neighbors. Do we put them on too high of a pedestal? Sometimes it kind of makes you wonder, is it worth it? Is it all worth it in the end? That's all from me.
Alright, and unfortunately we are running out of time. But before we wrap up this first great episode, I just want to go over some of the challenges. I want you to review the challenges that we went over in this episode and some of the possible solutions that we had.
Thanks, Brandon. As far as the challenge is concerned, the first one we went over is how you have different size of markets, and that really affects the competitive balance. The second problem was some players, let's be honest, they're getting paid for what they've done and not their future benefit. And the third problem was how advertising, especially in the NBA, kind of puts the players on a pedestal in society that, you know, puts them above everyone else, and this is definitely more of an ethical issue than anything else. Anyways, the first solution that we came up with, and this is really hard to explain, is that somehow we have to limit this brand name consumption, feeling that we have to have his shoe, we gotta have his jersey. The second solution is that television in the NBA is extremely poorly, inefficiently allocated. There's hundreds of nationally televised games a year, and teams like the Orlando Magic and the Milwaukee Bucks are only broadcasted twice. The third solution that we came up with is the NBA should probably raise the salary cap for small market teams. Because the fact that the big markets are willing to pay pretty much any penalty and the small markets can't afford to, just simply because of numbers, if they raise the salary cap for the small market teams, this would definitely level the competitive balance within the markets.
Unfortunately, we are almost out of time, so it was a great first episode.
For Tom Boswell
and Brandon Martin.